So now we can actually start Kuntreis Umayan and Punkt. Today we're starting a little bit late. It happens to be a juicy chapter with a lot of good detail. So let's see if we can hopefully get through it all. So Parag Gimel. So we were talking before. About the inyan of how things that are of keli for Hashem's, for holiness, for and safe. Are things which are able to be bottled to earn safe. The less something is nullified to earn safe, the less of a keli it is. And so this is why things in this world that are bottled to alikos, things in this world which are bottled to godliness, are able to be a proper vessel for godliness. Things which aren't are not, and that's the Sefer Achra on the other side. But we're in the process of explaining how there's two ways that Hashem gives good into the world. There's the way of cheshbon, there's a way of calculation, that it happens based on, say, there's hishtalshelus, based on an order of if you deserve this or if you don't deserve this. And the deserving this is not necessarily deserving that Hashem is decide. It really is seemingly an arbitrary set of rules that we have in Torah. Some things like make sense in a very big way, some things are chokim. But it's not about that. It's the more bottled that you are to godliness, the more you're able to receive in this ordered way. And then you have a completely separate system, which is we're getting close to Purim, so it's very big because this is what Purim is all about, and the Maimarim, etc., that you have an order that's above, say, the hishtalshelus, and over there everything is equal, and Hashem just gives shefa. So we're in the process of explaining this, and this is what we're going to go into a little bit more right now. So kol inyan adin v'cheshbon hu rak mitzad seder hishtalshelus. The entire concept of judgment and calculation is only in seder hishtalshelus. The kafke amidah b'hishtalshelus shemochak sheyeh b'din v'cheshbon miduk mitzad arba tamim. This is how it is in hishtalshelus, in the chain of higher to lower shpal, that it needs to be in very precise judgment and calculation for 4 reasons. Aleph, because it is pnimi, because it's an internal light, and we're gonna be explaining these things. Beis mitzad inyan seder. The second thing is because of the concept of seder. Gimel liyeser erbechli. In order for it to be light in a vessel, and daled mitzad hashtalshelus l'darga shelamatu b'menu. And the fourth reason is because of, in order to pass down to the level which is below it. So they've actually very, very kindly split it up into paragraphs for all of the 4 things. Anyhow, kol so the first thing is that it needs to be pnimi. So the first thing is kol eza shehu bein ha'meichin bein ha'midas. So any light, and when we say light, we need to clarify that we're not talking about a light that actually shines, like a UV light or an infrared light or anything like that. We're referring to when you have something and it spreads its influence. So you have the light of intellect. The light of intellect is that you have the essence of what intellect is, and then you have the effects that intellect have. This is a very grown way of explaining it, and you have whole Maimarim with the Rebbe will list 6 reasons why the mashal isn't really a good mashal, and in order to properly explain the concept. But we're not over there. We're right now just trying to go in a simple way. But whether it's light of intellect, whether it's light of emotions, it has its essential nature. Because the effects of intellect are by nature restful and peaceful. That when intellectual processes don't get a person excited, they can affect the midas. Midas get a person excited, as we're about to say. And the light of emotions generally is very excitable and affectable. It has a lot of feeling to it. Intellect, when a person, or the effect that intellect has on a person, doesn't usually get a person riled up unless it causes emotions to come forth, and the emotions affect the person to be very excited.
So use the example of when you study something, you get really excited, you learn something and your mind just gets completely changed. That's not the intellect that's exciting you, the emotions attached to it.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And therefore people that are intellectual are usually seen as colder, because if a person has a lot of intellect, it doesn't affect them emotionally. Not that it makes them angry or sad. Any emotion is getting excited. That's what it is. Whatever the emotion may be, it doesn't matter what the emotion is. It could be good or it could be bad, but it gets you excited. Mm-hmm. That's the nature of what emotions are. I saw someone, I was reading something, someone said that someone said that the opposite of love isn't anger, it's apathy. Because if you're angry at someone, that means that you care about them to some extent. They have some hold or effect over your life. If you love them, that means that they have a hold and effect in a positive way. Anger may be in a negative way, but it means that there's something there. Apathy means you just don't care. So anyhow, so so this is also how it is with Pnimi. So we're saying that and Seif, when it comes down into different levels, that there's a nature of and Seif. And in the same way that the effects of intellect are like, restfulness and like, complacency in a sense that you know what you're talking about, you know what it is, and you could be more restful. And emotions is that you're more excitable. And Seif also has a nature, and in the nature of and Seif, it needs to go down through different levels, and it needs to go, part of the nature of and Seif is that it needs to go with calculation. We see this in general with light. One of the most fascinating things that physicists have observed is, I really hope we finish the space. We need to keep our good record. Maybe we'll go like a little bit over.
Oh, there's 2 pages. So I thought we only had 1 extra page at the end.
Yeah, no. I really hope we do finish it. But in light in general is able to do these very complex calculations very quickly and knows exactly where it needs to go. So part of the nature of Ein Seif is that it knows where it needs to go, it knows how it needs to affect. It needs to go through Seder Shalshos. And then the second thing is Teva Seder or Teva Cheshbon V'Adiuk B'Chalmus V'Eichos. Then the Ein Seif needs to go through Shalshos because there's the concept of order. The concept Ein Seif goes in an ordered way. There's a Seder for how Ein Seif is supposed to affect things. And in the Seder, in order to have a Seder, you need to have a calculation. There needs to be some reasoning behind whatever order you have. There needs to be some reasoning behind it. So that's another reason why Ein Seif insists on going in an ordered way. Then the third thing is that we said that it should be light in a vessel. So so when light is enclosed in a vessel, as you said, like let's just read a little bit. So even when in general the vessels are fit for the light, like, for example, the mind, which is a fitting vessel to express the light of intellect. Intellect is an entity that exists unto itself, and then the mind is able to be a vessel for the expression of intellect. And the same thing with the heart. The heart is you're able to feel very excited over here. For some reason, I have no idea why. When you get excited, you feel excited over here. I don't know if that's, something that's definitely observed scientifically. I don't know if there's necessarily a reason given. I don't think that the heart is necessarily thinking to such a high degree. There are some studies about memory in the heart, whatever. That's not the point. The point is that when you get excited over here. For some reason, this part of the body is a good vessel for feeling excited. So, but it's forced to say that there should be some level of measurement in the light of intellect when it dwells in the brain and the head, and also with midas. Because if it's not a fitting vessel, then chas v'shalom, what can happen is that the light of the intellect, the light of the emotions, can go into the brain or the heart, and they can unfortunately wreak havoc on them. This is something that you see with ALS and with heart attacks, respectively. That ALS is when the brain is using too much power, and heart attacks is when, it depends on what the reason for the heart attack is. The heart is working too much. It really depends on the reason for the heart attack. Some people can get too excited, and that can cause or contribute to a heart attack. The vessels need to be proper for the light. It needs to be in an ordered way. As we see with many sicknesses of the mind and of the heart, that they come because of too much light, and the vessels are not proper for them. We said the fourth thing. The fourth thing is that in order to have a hishtalshelus to the level that's beneath it, the light which needs to go down to the level which is below it, it's forced that, it must be that the light is calculated precisely according to the size of the next vessel. The lulezais, because without this, not just that the vessel will not be able to receive the light, but more than that, the light will destroy the vessel and break it. As we see clearly when a teacher tries to give over information to a student, the classic example of a hishtalshelus. When the hashpa, when the quote-unquote sustenance, I've been using the word sustenance for hashpa, and it's a bad habit that I need to break at some point, but I'm too deep in. But when the teacher is giving over information to the student, when it's not according to what the student is able to understand, not just that the student is not able to receive the intellect which is given over to him, but more than that, he gets confused. Originally, he wasn't in a state of confusion, and now when the teacher says too much for him, that's too much for him to handle, he comes to a state of conclusion, of confusion, not conclusion. He's not able to come to a conclusion, he's too confused. And the reason for this is because everything that you're trying to give over to a lower level needs to be according to the level that you're trying to give over into. So these are 4 reasons why These are 4 reasons why and safe needs to come in an ordered way. The first one that we said is that it's an primi, and in order for things to be every primi has requirements for how it travels, and this is the way that and safe goes. The second reason is because of the concept of order in general. Order in general, which the world is an order system. Order in general requires that you have reasoning. There needs to be some calculation behind it. The third reason is because the vessels need to be fit for the light. And in order for the vessels to be fit for the light, it needs to come with some kind of calculation. And the second thing is that the light needs to go according to the vessels. That if the vessels that if the light is too much for the vessels, then the vessels will not be able to handle the light, and they might even become damaged themselves. All of this is an example for how the spheres above work in the hishtalshelus. But as far as Erin Safe, which is above Seder Hishtalshelus goes, because remember we're talking about only in Seder Hishtalshelus about how things get passed down from level to level, etc., etc. So it's drawn down in a surrounding way. It doesn't get enclosed in the world. It doesn't get enclosed in vessels. It's not relevant whether or not the thing in the world is getting the chai, the Aaron Chayas is a fitting vessel for it. Or if it's not fitting. Because it doesn't need a vessel at all. It goes down into a place which is not fitting, which is to say that it is not a vessel, the same way that it does to a place which is a fitting vessel. This is why klipis and people into Averis are able to receive sustenance from their even though they're not fitting vessels at all. Because they do not need vessels at all. So therefore they don't need any seder, they don't need any order. And therefore they're able to draw a great amount of sustenance from that place, seeing as it is infinite. Because the light of Seder Hishtalshelus, because it's an primi, and it becomes invested in the world, it becomes enclosed in the world, so it's limited according to the world that it's enclosed in. And therefore it's able to have the concept of Seder, it's able to have the concept of hishtalshelus, it's able to have order, and it's able to progress, it's able to go down. But the light that's above Seder Hishtalshelus, seeing as it's an makif, it's not limited. And therefore from there comes a great amount of sustenance. This is what it says in the pasuk. If you will raise yourself as an eagle, as you have the way of the eagle in the heavens, so the same way that an eagle flies in the sky, that it raises itself up in order to travel, so too the klipa on the Sitra Achara, the klipa on the other side, the side that isn't holy, the side that isn't nullified to Hashem, and therefore it can't receive from the Pnimi. So they raise themselves to receive from the level of Makiv. Because over there they're able to get without din or cheshbon, they're able to get without judgment or deserving a calculation. Even though they're not nullified at all to godliness. And on the flip side, on the contrary, they violate Hashem's will completely. And therefore they receive from there a great amount of sustenance. This is the reason for the success of people who serve idols with a lot of wealth and honor in this world. And they also rule over the Eden sometimes. Because the root of their receiving is from above the Seder Shalshos. The Ashbal Yisrael he ali de Torah mitzvos v'abashet the Seder Shalshos, because the Ashbal that the Yidden get is through Torah and mitzvos, and it comes in a way of Shalshos. It goes through layer and layer. What we do affects not just us in a revealed way in this world, which we're the lowest kli in the sense that we're all the way in the world of Asiyah. But they don't go through anything and say they're Shalshos. They're not affecting anything in the spiritual realms, etc. They're just receiving in a very, in a sense, direct way, but also in a very indirect way, because they're not going through the intended route, and therefore they're able to receive from. I lost where I was. Because the Yidden receive through Torah and mitzvahs, and it comes to say the Shalshos. But the hashpa, the sustenance that goes to people that serve the way the Zara, is above Seder Shalshos, and it's without any calculation or reason. Any questions?
Do we go into that more?
Which part?
With regards to idolatries in the following Mamar.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Because it's still he's only just touched on it.
Yes.
And I feel like I've got 1,000 questions, but I'll let you explain.
Okay. So, just the Kitzer. So from the sphere of Chachma and below, things come in a way of by way of calculation, as in things are well calculated for 4 reasons. Aleph Pimi, Beis Seder, Gimel Muslavish Bechli, Daled Mishal Shalamatim Mother Gase. So firstly, it's an Pimi, and Pimi has a nature, and therefore it needs to go in its natural way, the same way that intellect and emotions. Intellect makes you be more rested, and emotions make you be more excited. Second thing is Seder, because all systems need to have order, and order necessarily requires calculation. Gimel Muslavish Bechli, that it needs to be a fitting vessel for the light to be in it, otherwise the vessel will break. And fourthly, Mishal Shalamatim Madragase, in order for it to be able to be properly passed on, it needs to be given over in a proper measurement, and therefore it needs to have calculation in order to know what the measurement should be. So above Chachma, which is above the Hishtalshelus, does not come by way of calculation. And for this reason, the Sitra Akara raises itself to receive from there, and it doesn't need to have any preciseness, and it's able to receive from there in great abundance.
Sure.
Sure.
We did in record time.
What?
We did in record
time. I really.